let me try this again because they're all animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others on YouTube. YouTube is so freaking lame now. So J.K. Rowling unleashes her millions of followers on three trans activists who protested outside her home. So, Alex Bollinger, did you think when you wrote that, when you got to the part outside her home, did you stop and think, oh, outside her home, huh? That's kind of weird. She's a woman, and she's the Harry Potter lady who writes some books. So somebody went to her house, huh? And we're going to make her the bad guy in this whole scenario. Oh, that's misgendering her. It seems a little weird to say that someone's going to your house and the person is rightfully concerned about people protesting outside her house. And not only protesting outside her house, but doxing her address to everyone on social media. It's blurred out here. It's in the background. It tells her address. And it's a semi-private address. It's people, like she lives in a castle in, I don't know, somewhere in the UK. You can find out where anyone lives if you really want to. It's semi-private, but it's not that so much as they stood outside her house with these signs about trans rights or human rights. Well, she's not a politician. She doesn't have any sway. She doesn't have the power to bind or loose these rights for you. So the fact that you're outside her house seems a little bit like, are you trying to intimidate her? Because why wouldn't you just go downtown in a public park or something and talk about it? The address is in the background right there. It's blurred out. Obviously, I mean, this is like some mafioso stuff, tactics to go outside somebody's house. And she's in the UK, so it's like, I'm sure she has Liberty devices, but those are only to be used at the last. How do we smuggle Liberty devices into Australia and the UK? America will arm the world. It's like, really? That would be sweet, wouldn't it? Like just shiploads of ARs going to places that they don't have them. God, that would be awesome. Where's it going with this? So obviously this is it's not. Is it? Is it a threat? It's a threat of imminent violence. It's creepy, and even people on Twitter are saying this is a little bit feels along the lines of stochastic terrorism. And I'll be honest, the last time I saw it, it was someone on our side was doing it, and it's creepy when you do it on our side too. It's like there's a lot of mentally ill people out there, and you're telling some of these mentally ill people, like, hey, this person we've identified our side did it. I'm assuming they're our side. It was an anti-abortion thing, and it's somebody held up a sign and they had the guy's name or something like that, and there were two O's in the guy's name, and he turned them into the iron cross hatchings, X's, but like a rifle sight in the name. And it's like that's really creepy. I mean, because you're telling some mentally ill guy to do something that you yourself, listen, if you really want to do that to somebody, then just do it yourself. Don't be a pussy. Don't try to convince some mentally ill guy with the I don't know, what was that, Maybach, that 7mm rifle up in the tower. It's just creepy when you do that kind of stuff. Where's I going with this? This is creepy too, and even people on Twitter were talking about it. So these three stalkers go outside her house, and then this Bollinger band guy, J.K. Rowling, compared the quiet protests to struggle snuggle threats. Not exactly. She says later on in the article that she has received those threats, herself as a victim of receiving these threats by you weirdos. And she said she also received enough death threats to paper over her house, which I've seen on Twitter. Many people have threatened to commit grievous bodily injury upon her. And then she says that those three activists have disappeared from social media after being hounded by the author's fans. Well, after they showed up at her house, showing her address and publishing that information on the internet. So J.K. Rowling pointed out that, oh yeah, these people are stalking me. Perhaps that's not such a good thing. And she contacted, I don't know, the Scotland FBI equivalent. Yes, everything is Americanized. You don't even have your MI 5 and 6. It's all just American. It's just the European FBI. And so they nuked all their accounts. It's like, well, you guys went to her house, and she's saying perhaps we can have discourse, but not outside somebody's house. Maybe maybe that's a bridge too far. And for most reasonable people, they go, oh, yeah, J.K. Rowling, sure, she's transphobe, which, it's her right to be. It's to say, oh, heaven forbid, women should have their own spaces according to biological sex, but perhaps we shouldn't go to somebody's house. This is in America. If you go to somebody's house, I was thinking back to that with that Tucker Carlson thing where they, Antifa tried to break down his door. They kicked the door and it started to break. And it's like, oh, God, I won't say anything more. So they're responding to Rowling's long history of transphobia. Well, so as soon as you label somebody something, that means they're apt to be destroyed. It's like, oh, they're transphobic. They're the enemy. You're just labeling them for a bunch of weirdos. Or she repeatedly attacked the validity of trans identities. What does that mean? This is just word salad. If you're saying that she thinks biological women should have the right to their own spaces, yeah, that's about 99% of the people. And like, you guys are skating out on the thinnest of thin ice. Portrayed trans women as threats to cis women's safety. There was just a case in the Loudoun County School Board where a trans person went in the women's bathroom and committed malum-in-se acts upon a teenage girl. So it's like, yes, that's literally happened. And even promoted vile merchandise. So I'm sure it's some comedy. She claimed her dress was visible in a photo. Well, I've seen the uncensored photo. It is visible, and people are still promoting it on Twitter because there are a lot of deeply mentally disturbed people on Twitter. And all they have to have is a cell phone and internet access. And the thing is, all this stuff now, in 20 years, you think anyone's going to be like trans in 20 years? Like 40% of people, millennials, something like people under 25 identify as BLT now. It's like, yeah, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It means you just want a little bit of attention, a little bit to put on your social credit resume. That's all it is. You're probably gonna get married and have kids. Otherwise, you're just gonna be some like single cat lady who just gets weirder and weirder and weirder, and you definitely don't want to be that. So she's not claiming her address was out there. The address was clearly out there. She said she called the police, although she did not say what the activists did was illegal. Stalking? I don't know the laws in the UK, but I'm sure there's something there. Anti-trans. Threats of violence. Yeah, they've all been doxxed and received threats of violence. The BLT thing is one thing. Like, the gay rights thing is, that's like one level. The trans is a whole orders of magnitude beyond that, to the point where even the rest of the gay community looks at the trans community like, maybe we need to separate out. So they're hoping that doxing her and intimidating her would stop her from speaking up against women's sex-based rights. And it's a shame that you have to say sex-based as opposed to just saying women. A woman, a female, a human, the one who bears young. And no, not all women bear young, but only women bear young. Only women bleed. So she says she's received so many death threats, she could paper the house with them, and she hasn't stopped speaking out. Perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out there, the best way to prove that your movement isn't a threat to women is to stop stalking, harassing, and threatening us. Rowling concluded, if there's any evidence that the activists she attacked were stalking, harassing, and threatening, she didn't share it. I just showed you the picture of them outside her house showing the address. That was just a different other thumbnail. I mean, how do you write stuff like this? Where, I mean, it's okay to lie to other people, but don't lie to yourself. When you're saying stuff that is just this far out there, you're just throwing word salad at the wall to see what sticks. It's like Rowling came out as transphobic. You mean she said that women should have their own spaces? That's transphobic? Oh, yeah. If you don't allow biological men into biological women's spaces, that's transphobic. I don't know what to say to this. Continue skating out on that thin ice. I mean, eventually, like, there's this wrecking ball that is this pendulum. This not the sword of Damocles? What's that guy who wrote those horror books? He did poetry too, and it's like not For Whom the Bell Tolls. The guy who wrote horror books, and it's like the sword is swinging or whatever. Like the Gold Bug. He wrote the Gold Bug, and then it's like the guy on the walls. Son of a bitch! I've got the book on the shelf. Where's I going with this? I don't know. So her support for Maya, a social justice nonprofit. Okay, here's the thing. They're on the left. Like, they're on the far left, but they're not left enough. And, like, this trans stuff is a bridge too far for all these people. This is just some of the stuff they're asking for is people are just not going to accept it. You don't want biological men in the biological women's room. It's a risk. It's unfair to ask people to take. So she was fired for attacking transgender people on social media. It's funny you don't include a hypertext to exactly what she did. And refusing to use the correct pronouns, she did use the correct pronouns. Biological pronouns are correct. It's funny, when the media started using biologically incorrect pronouns, that should have woken people up to, the media's lying to us. They're materially misrepresenting the truth. Like, this was decades ago when they started doing the pronouns, or maybe a decade ago when they started doing that. It's like, media's been lying to us for a long time. So she sued. She lost her case since court believed their actions created intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating. Spent the next year diatribes with transgender people, came out in support of conversion therapy, whatever, and claimed everyone agrees with her. A lot of people do. And then she published a book under a male pen name about a man who wears dresses in order to delete women. Wait, wasn't that movie? The Thing? The guy? Anyway, this is creepy. Going to somebody's house, dressing up like idiots, no offense, and holding signs that, like, she has nothing to do with. Why don't you go, I don't know what trans rights in the UK you don't have, but she has nothing to do with it. She had an opinion. You have an opinion online, someone's going to come outside your house. It's like, buddy, the thing is, like, with this delusion and this wrecking ball, that's pendulum that's swinging in one direction and swinging back in the other direction, I'll leave it at that. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.